here. The NFL draft is tomorrow. Yeah! Our coverage will begin with Draft Night Live at 5 here on 620 Rip City Radio. Alex Brink going to stop by today at 3:20. We'll get his take on the QBs and the latest from Denver with Ryan Edwards, 850 KOA. He'll join us at 5:20. NBA playoffs tonight, unfortunately. 4 o'clock on TNT, Heat and Celtics game 2, followed by the Pelicans and Thunder on TNT at 6:30. Oklahoma City favored by 7.5. Boston, a whopping 14.5 point favorite. And from golf, the PGA is stepping up their cash game. The Telegraph reported today that Tiger Woods is going to receive $100 million in equity as part of the newly created for-profit PGA Tour Enterprises, with Roy getting about half that amount. Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad's coming at you right now. We got a 4-pack of tickets to give away for the Thorns at 5. All right, Godfather. I don't know what Adam Silver's thinking, but it's obviously not much. He continues to try and destroy the league after David Stern had built such a powerful organization in the NBA. So tonight, it's a nothing burger in the NBA playoffs. At 4 o'clock on TNT, Heat at the Celtics. Right now, Boston up 1-0, and we all know that Miami has zero chance without Jimmy Butler. It's going to be another blowout. The Celtics are superior right now. And then at 6:30, the other series that not too many people care about, the Pelicans and Thunder.
Yeah.
2 young teams without playoff experience. That's fine, whatever. You're going to have nights like that where you have more duds than what we saw a couple of nights ago with those great games with the Lakers and Nuggets and then the Sixers and Knicks, both game 2s. But then tomorrow, this really irritates the daylights out of me. You got the nothing series between the Cavs and Magic, which tip off at 4 tomorrow.
Yeah, it's the Who Cares series.
No one cares. But then the Knicks Sixers at 4:30 on TNT from Philly, game 3, which has been a fascinating series so far. And at 7 o'clock on TNT, the Nuggets are in Los Angeles to take on the Lakers, game 3.
So I'm sure you're going to be watching both those games, right, Chad?
Dude, I don't understand why the NBA would schedule those games with those teams with the biggest stars. When you got LeBron and Jokic playing, you want people to watch that game.
Well, and they would normally.
Yeah, but the
not
draft
tomorrow.
is tomorrow, no. And I can't imagine the number the NFL draft is going to get. It's going to be massive, an absolutely massive number. This is going to be one of the most popular, and my guess would be the most watched draft of all time because of all the quarterbacks and the storylines going in. And when you have big brands like Chicago and New England who are drafting in the top 5, everyone's going to tune in to watch that. And then you get the quarterbacks. It's going to be a massive hit for the NFL and a big loss once again for the NBA because you have your great stars who are playing and competing against each other, but the majority of eyeballs in the country will be tuned in to the draft. I don't understand how you can't figure out how to put your stars in a better position to be on display instead of going up against the ultimate force, which is the NFL. It's been proven. The NFL is dominant. They are king, and if you go up against them, they're going to destroy you.
Well, Chad, it's just a payback, because the NFL came in and took Christmas. They were the Grinch that stole Christmas from the NBA. So I'm sure Adam Silver figured, well, we're going to get them back this year. We're going to put 2 really good games on against their draft and steal all their viewers.
I know you're using humor right now.
I'm sarcastic.
But seriously, why would they do that?
There's no reason to do it. You could easily just have the whole league take that day off or play 4 games tonight instead of 2.
Yeah.
None of them played last night, right? But maybe they had to give the old Lakers an extra day off in there just to recover.
Or give them an extra day and put them on Friday.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense. So, once again, the NBA with a big-time fail because the games tonight stink and the games tomorrow, which are great, the majority of focus is going to be on the NFL. Like, I'll pay attention. I'm like you. I've got the computer. I've got the TV. And I'll go back and forth. But my main intention is going to be focused on the draft. I'm no different than everyone else. I can't wait to see where the quarterbacks go.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see how many quarterbacks are taken in the first round. Like that, those storylines with the draft this year are phenomenal.
Yeah.
We've been talking about the draft now for, a month plus solid, and it's been nonstop quarterback talk.
Well, that's the real thing here is not only is it the draft, but it's that year where almost every section of the country has a quarterback that they can't wait to see where he gets drafted and by whom. And that's a big deal because quarterbacks, you know this, they're the name brands of all the football players. They're the guys everybody watches. And coming out of college, you couldn't name the offensive tackle. Who's the offensive tackle is going to get taken? Well, if you're a big-time draft fan, you know. But most people that are casual fans, they don't know who that is. But I guarantee you, the casuals know all about those quarterbacks.
There's no question about it. So tomorrow, I'm excited. The draft's going to be awesome. We're going to have Alex Brink on here at 3:20 to get his take on the quarterbacks. Most of these guys he knows because he worked with them directly in the Elite 11.
Yeah.
We'll have him rank the quarterbacks, and we got a couple other questions. I'm fascinated by the Patriots, Godfather. They're sitting there at number 3, and there's going to be great temptation to take a quarterback, but they are probably the worst team in the league when it comes to overall talent. And they've got a new coach, and they're starting a brand new era, and you can make a strong case that it would be smart to trade out, collect picks, and continue to stockpile talent, and then get yourself in a situation where you have a strong foundation laid, then go out and get your quarterback. So when you bring him in, he's set up to succeed.
Right.
So I'm curious about the Patriots and the thinking there. Plus, who's running the team now? Is it Bob Kraft? Is it his son? Is it the GM? How much power does Gerard Mayo have?
Who do you think is?
It's Kraft's son.
That's what I would think.
Yeah, he was the one that really ultimately wanted to push Belichick out so he could have the power, and he was the one who did the best job of throwing Belichick under the bus in their documentary as well.
Right. And I always think, Chad, just in any sport, the son of the owner, he grows up with that, and he can't wait to get his hands on that team. I see it over and over in all sports, and that's the way they're run. You know, the kid gets the controls to the team, and usually it doesn't work out very well.
All right, you sent this over. I just want to get your quick take on it. I'm not a big fan of people harassing people in public with videos, but this is kind of funny. At a baseball game, a camera directly on Rob Manfred, and they're separated by just a few seats, and this is what took place. Take a listen.
Hey, Rob, if you want the youth and the blackouts, dumbass.
There you go. Nice little casual dumbass dropped on Rob Manfred.
Yeah. The best part, though, is hey, Rob. And Rob actually turned around and looked at him. So, he heard it. Hey, dumbass. If you want the youth and the blackouts.
Yeah.
And that's a real sore spot with baseball right now is they're still sticking to a lot of the blackouts.
No, it's so dumb.
Yeah, it keeps people from watching the game.
Yeah, you want to have your fans in a position to have access to as many games as possible so you can watch. Like the MLB app that I have, I get it free through my relationship with T-Mobile.
Mm-hmm.
I get all the games for free.
Yeah.
And I can watch from my phone. It's genius.
Yeah.
Access, baby. And the blackouts that these fans are exposed to in their home markets it's just a dumb play.
Well, they just haven't figured out how to make money off it. They're not going to do it until they can make money. And that's a shame because they're hurting their teams.
All right, I want your take on this. Shohei Ohtani showing off some power last night. Take a listen.
Matt Barnes, first base side of the rubber, delivers. Swing and a long drive, deep to right, way back and gone. Goodbye. Into the second level. The Dodgers now lead by the score of 4-1.
That ball was ripped.
Yeah, that's to put it mildly. It was hit 118 miles an hour off the bat. Folks, that's the hardest hit ball in the big leagues this season. Now, a lot of the hard hit balls, believe it or not, and people who know baseball understand this, they're not all home runs. Sometimes the guy's a line drive to the center fielder. And I mean, if he just had it up in the air, it would have been a 400-foot home run, but it wasn't. But this one was just tagged, and I hope nobody got hurt out there trying to catch it because you don't want to stand in the way of 118 miles an hour.
When I watch Ohtani, he's one of those players where it all comes easy for him.
Oh, I was just thinking that. He makes hitting look so easy. And it's not that easy.
That home run last night, it reminds me of those moments on the golf course where you just hit it pure and it doesn't even feel like you did anything. You weren't swinging hard. Everything was spot on. You hit it dead center of the club and you get that proper power transfer where the energy goes into the ball and you compress it. That's what I saw last night with that Ohtani home run.
Baseball is exactly the same. I can remember as a little kid, the first time I hit a ball solid, I said, Dad, it didn't even feel like I hit it. And it doesn't. When you square it up, it's so easy. The bat just slides through the strike zone.
And just like golf, when you don't square it up and you hit it off the edge or whatever and you get that vibration, it hurts like double hockey sticks.
Yeah, baseball the same way. Hit a ball off the end of the bat or something. Oh, especially on a cold day, your hands will hurt for a while.
I love watching Ohtani.
Yeah.
He's good. He's a good one, Godfather.
Well, it was smart of them to go get him just as a hitter, knowing he can't pitch this year. You know what? If he can't ever pitch again, it's still a goodbye.
Yeah.
I don't care. He's the best hitter in the game.
And if you got him at DH, he's not subjected to all the punishment, right?
Yeah.
He could have a long and extended career.
Right. Theoretically, he won't need days off. You can play him every day, and he's going to be good every day.
How hard could it be to DH? You go out there and mash?
Yeah. I think it's more mental strain for guys. You know, when you play 162 games over the season, every once in a while you just need to relax.
Yeah, that's what they say. And then I remember how much money they're making. I'm like, dude, you're making like $700 million. Can you just get out there and swing the bat for me, buddy? I mean, he's making some big-time cash. My trip to New York is shaping up nicely. I'm waiting for the rash of injuries to hit the Yankees. But right now, the Dodgers-Yankees series is looking pretty good.
Yeah, I expect the Yankees to fall off a little bit. They've been playing pretty well in the early season, but
What do you think? Maybe a June swoon for the Yankees?
Yeah, you know, Chad, their offense is a little bit shaky. Their pitching's been good so far. They're relying on some questionable pitchers and questionable arms, guys that are probably going to have some arm trouble.
All right, we'll come back. We got to talk some football with Alex Brink, former Coug, and with E4 Sports. Alex Brink is the man. We'll get his take on the quarterbacks. And then we'll talk with Ryan Edwards from 850 KOA in Denver. He's going to join the show at 5:20. And I need to know what the thinking is with the Broncos. At 4:20, my man Benjamin Albright, who is one of the most well-connected people within the league, he has dropped his mock draft. So we're going to work through that at 4:20, and I think you'll enjoy his insight for how he thinks everything will go down. He also included trades as well. You got the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. All right, draft coming up tomorrow. Our coverage will start at 5. Dwight and I both love Alex Brink. We love having him on the show, and so I thought, man, we got to reach out and see if he'll come on, and he agreed to that. Former Cougar, and now with E4 Sports, Alex Brink is back on the show. Alex, it's great to talk to you, my friend. We're excited about the draft. I'm sure you are as well. The quarterbacks are the big story this year, so I wanted to start with your rankings in terms of how you would slot them in your mind before we continue the discussion. So I want you to give me your 1 through 6 with Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, and Michael Penix.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great place to start. There is obviously a lot of QBs with a lot of talent in this draft. I think more importantly, there's a lot of quarterback need, which creates my favorite version of inflation, which is quarterback inflation in the draft, So this offseason has certainly, you certainly see, I think, a lot of conversation, a lot of movement. I may buck the trend a little bit, frankly, but yeah, 1 through 6. I mean, I think Caleb Williams is the best quarterback in this draft. I don't think it's particularly close, to be honest with you. I think Drake May is a solid second option and probably could, be up in that conversation with Caleb Williams. I think he's had an interesting kind of draft process. It feels a little C.J. Stroud-like, where people are kind of trying to beat him down a little bit versus looking at what's actually on tape. My number 3 is actually Michael Penix. I think he's severely undervalued in this draft class based on, compared to some of these other guys who, by all rights, had fantastic seasons and, again, may have inflated their stock a little bit. My number 4 is probably J.J. McCarthy. I mean, I think he's solid. I don't know that he's was asked to do a ton at Michigan, and I'm concerned about how that translates to the NFL. Number 5 is probably Jaden Daniels, though I think there are some real question marks with Daniels despite a historic season and a Heisman Trophy. I think there's real question marks about him at the NFL level. And then probably 6 would be Bo Nix, and that is maybe less to do with, obviously his college career and who he is, but really just like his top end ability and what that means in the NFL. If we're talking, top 6 quarterbacks and, there's talk of 5 or 6 going in the first round, I think he would probably land at 6 for me.
Okay, Alex, you got Daniels ranked lower, obviously, than some people do. A lot of people think he's going second. What are those concerns that you might have about him?
Well, I think when you look at when you look at his body of work, right? A couple things stand out to me. At Arizona State, I thought he was incredibly inconsistent with a team that was loaded with offensive talent, and so you kind of sit there and say, well, he really didn't move the needle significantly when he was there, and then at LSU, while incredibly productive, was not entirely that productive versus the better half of the teams he played. And to me, that leads me to be concerned about what he can do in the NFL, where 31 other teams are full of all-stars, right? And, there's the physical side. He's on the slider side, slider build. He wants to use his legs as a part of his game. And I don't know that his body holds up nearly well enough in the NFL with that style, and I think he's got great arm talent. I mean, he can make all the throws. There's all of that. I think he's been in enough systems. He's been in a couple systems in college, so he's probably seen and kind of learned enough offense. But I really do feel like, I feel like he's got some real flaws when it comes to his ability to execute against the higher end, and that could be a processing thing. That could be just, flat out, skill set thing, but he's going to have to answer some questions, in my opinion.
We're talking with Alex Brink, former Coug, E4 Sports here on the Rip City Drive. How do you explain J.J. McCarthy's meteoric rise during the course of the offseason before the draft? What about him do you think has given teams an opportunity to see him differently?
Well, I think when you see J.J. McCarthy in person, he's incredibly impressive. I mean, he's just got that he's got flawless technique. I mean, when you see him throwing shorts in a T-shirt, it's as good as it gets, right? And that's what obviously this draft process is about. He's got a head coach a former head coach that's now in the NFL, who's in all the circles, is able to have the conversations, kind of pump him up. And I think he's got things on tape, right, that are high quality. but he also played for a team that had unbelievable defense, unbelievable running game. He was in a position to, in my opinion, kind of always be successful. That's the formula, right? And the problem with that in college is that you don't always get to see who that player is, at their best, because they're kind of playing with a stacked deck. And I really feel like McCarthy, as good of players as he is and was in college, he was playing with that stacked deck, right? It was just a better team to play quarterback for, because it makes it easier on you when you run the ball and play defense. And so whether that's a knock against him and that's fair, I don't know. But you saw some things on tape where he would miss throws that he absolutely should make. And sometimes in kind of big moments. And so I'd like to see him get on a roster, see what that's like. I'm a little concerned that it doesn't translate as smooth to the NFL as some other people think it will.
Alex, what about Drake May? I hear people talk about his mechanics, some concern over his mechanics. You seem to like him. What do you like about him, and what about those concerns on his mechanics?
I think probably the best way I can describe it is that everybody killed Josh Allen on his mechanics coming out of college, right? And you see how little that matters to some degree in the NFL, because mechanics, like being mechanically sound and fundamentally sound, is not the most important thing in the NFL. It's about whether you can get the ball out of your hand on time and or off schedule in really tough situations, like Mahomes and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. And, it's not about how good you look. It really isn't. And I don't think his mechanics severely affect his ability to complete the football. And I think in the end, it gives him an advantage where he's got different arm slots. He's athletic. He can throw the ball from different platforms. And that is today's NFL game, right? It's not looking the best. It's not being the most fundamentally sound. I think he's played a lot of football. I think he's been productive at a high level. I think he's got great size and athletic ability. And so I like all those things. I think that really matters.
Alex, the total in Vegas for quarterbacks taken in round one is 4.5. Would you go over or under that number?
I mean, it's crazy. Again, it's crazy to me. Like, I don't think 5 of these players are first-round NFL draft picks, but it appears based on need and probably the fear of missing out that, there is going to be 5, right? Because Jane Daniels, like the Heisman Trophy winner, is not going to go outside the first round, right? Like you talked about, he might go top 5. I think the question mark, might be Nix. Like, he's probably going to be a first rounder because he's so productive, and Penix obviously, but like, I don't know. I mean, I think I'd probably go over, even though I don't really believe that there's 5 guys that are at first round NFL draft picks.
You love that, don't you? The inflation.
Yeah. 2024, man, it's inflation.
Alex,
Steady rising.
Yeah. What about the situation in New England? They got a lot of holes on that roster. They're not very good, basically. They could trade out, get more picks, try to fill the roster, and then try to get their team ready for a new quarterback, or they take the quarterback and kind of make do until they find the pieces around him. What's a better way for them to go, do you think?
Well, it's a dangerous proposition in the NFL to take the quarterback and then try and build the team, right? Like, that's, in a way, to me, it's been proven to be unsuccessful. Whether that's, Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears, whether that's, the Panthers and, Bryce Young in recent memory. I don't think that's the path. But in today's NFL, you can't kind of mail it in, so to speak, and try and build your roster and have a bad year again, right? Because you're going to end up getting fired ultimately, or whatever. It's just the fan bases don't put up with it. So in a way, I feel like these organizations think they buy themselves some time by taking a quarterback high, because he might be the savior. The problem is it puts the quarterback in a really bad spot, and then ultimately it never pans out. And 2 years later, you're 2 or 3 years later, you're trying to draft another quarterback, and you're just in this vicious cycle, right? Whereas the teams that, whether it's by design or kind of by luck, are able to build, start to build a team, whether it's offensive line or defense or whatever it is, and then they get the young quarterback. Obviously, those kind of end up being the better version of it, in my opinion.
Alex Brink, former Coug, E4 Sports here on the Rip City Drive. I really wanted to know from you, because you work with a lot of quarterbacks. You're at the Elite 11, so you know a lot of these guys. But for you, I mean, what are those traits that you see or want to see that determines potential greatness at the position?
I mean, it's a fantastic question, and it's probably the multi-million-dollar question in the end, right? When
You'd
these
be a rich
teams are
man
trying
if
to
you knew the
figure
answer
it
to
out.
that, right? Yeah, you'd be rich if
Sure,
you knew that.
100%. 100%. And some of it is, a little bit hard to contextualize and certainly put into words because you kind of feel it in a way when you're around guys. In my first year at Elite 11, I got to work with Tua significantly. And just when you saw him, they all have the physical tools, right? Like there's very little separation to some degree at that level of physical tools. Like it looks different at times, but they can all make all the throws, and some of them are really special athletes or whatever it may be. But I do think that once you get past a certain physical threshold, the rest becomes that kind of the intangible part, the processing part, the leadership part, and again, like I was around Tua, and it was like, boy, that's a first round draft pick all day, right? The same with Fields and Trevor Lawrence. The same with some of these other guys, Caleb Williams being one of them, where when they walk into a room, they command a presence that's not cocky. It's that they don't think they're better than anybody else, but they know who they are and the type of player and person they are, and they're able to command that room. And then I like to say there's something about the competitive side, right? Like they're not going to let you win a game of pickup basketball or a game of horse. Like they're there to win all the time, right? They have that competitive edge. And then the other thing that I see a lot in the Elite 11 process, and Caleb Williams is a great example where he comes back to the Elite 11 as a counselor, right? And, they invite him back. He could do as little as he wants, right? He's the Heisman Trophy winner. He won the Elite 11. He's the Elite 11 champion. Like he could do nothing. He could stand on the sideline. But he gets out there. He's got shorts on. He's got a ball in his hand. He's mixing it up with the high school kids. He's throwing. He's having fun. He's coaching the high school kids. He's asking for us as coaches, what he could be working on. And when I see guys like that, I know that guy's going to be successful because he loves ball. And the thing about playing football and playing quarterback is it's hard. Like it's not easy. So you can't love, right? You can't just love being the quarterback. You have to love football. And that's two very different things. Because being quarterback can be really fun when you're throwing touchdowns. It's hard when you're throwing interceptions or you're getting knocked down or you're hurt and you got to go win ball games. And so I look for that sort of thing when I'm evaluating players and when I'm around guys at things like the Elite 11, because that's where you can really see that success.
Man, that's good stuff. Hey, what about the receivers? A lot of them this year will be taken and probably taken early. Marvin Harrison is the choice of most people as the first one to go. What do you think of him, and how much better is he than the others?
It's a fantastic wide receiver class, and kind of like the thing that I love most about the class. I think the quarterbacks are getting a ton of hype, but I mean, there's a chance this draft has, 3, 4, 5 wide receivers that are major impact players over the next 10 years in the NFL, right? And in a league that is heavily leaning towards production at the wide receiver position, to think that you could get Marvin Harrison, you get Malik Neighbors, you could get Rome Odunze, to think a guy like Troy Franklin's like a mid-round NFL draft pick right now, supposedly. Like, I mean, gosh, I love Franklin. Like, there's guys all over the place, Xavier Worthy. I mean, you keep going down the list. I mean, there's a ton of depth and talent there. And, I don't know that Marvin Harrison Jr. is head and shoulders above Neighbors or Odunze. I think all three of them are right there. And if one goes ahead of the other, it wouldn't really surprise me one bit. Or if one is more successful than the other, it wouldn't surprise me one bit, because I all think they're incredibly gifted.
It is Alex Brink here. We got 2 college questions for you. Jaden Rashada has entered the transfer portal. He's going to leave Arizona State. He's visiting Georgia right now. He was part of the Elite 11. I just want your take on him.
I think Rashada has gone through, a huge growth process. Arizona, his time at Arizona State, he got to play a little bit as a freshman, got banged up. Then he had to sit, and he's trying to kind of figure out his spot. He was still banged up in spring ball, and West Lynn product, Sam Levitt, obviously, who we know well, who went to Michigan State initially and transferred to Arizona State. Looks like he beat him out in the spring. I think for Jaden Rashada, he's finding out that college football and playing quarterback is hard, right? And you have to go and put in the work. And, he's going to find a place, I would bet, lots of times guys, when they go through this, they are able to find their footing kind of with a fresh start and a second time around. His story is pretty well documented. The Florida thing, big NIL money, kind of one of those, if the money was there or not there or wasn't going to get it, however all that panned out. And he ends up at Arizona State, and it didn't work out. And I hope for him as a young man that he ends up somewhere where somebody's going to develop him and let him grow into the position, because he's got all the talent in the world, man. Like, he throws a football as good as anybody you'll see. But the quarterback position is a lot more than that. And I think that's what the next stop for him is going to be about.
Alex, as you know, Oregon State trying to rise from the ashes, basically, of what's happened to them, just as the Cougars are. They got Bengal Branson, Jabari Johnson, and Giovanni McCoy down there in their quarterback room. I'm wondering, do you know enough about those guys to tell us who the likely starter would be and who's going to rise from that room and be the main guy?
Well, obviously, I got to see Go Branson over the last couple of years and see him on the field. Watched a lot of McCoy in the Big Sky with Idaho and saw what he was doing. And I know Jabari from his time in the Seattle area in high school and getting recruited to Missouri. So, yeah, I think I know all three of them very well. In the end, it's going to be a little bit about the fit with what new offensive coordinator Ryan Gunderson is going to ask of those guys. And, Gundy, a guy I know really well from, saying we were the same high school class. He was at Central Catholic and ends up at Oregon State. I think he hasn't had a chance to really call plays because he was with Chip Kelly at UCLA. So I'm going to be really intrigued to see what he asks. McCoy brings a little bit of a more athletic dimension, obviously played at a high level for Idaho and has a lot of snaps under his belt. But then you got Go Branson, who has shown he can win, right, at a high level in the Pac-12 and can make all the throws. So, again, I think it's a little bit about what they're going to be asked to do. McCoy gives you a little bit different dynamic. I think with Jabari Johnson, he probably falls somewhere in the middle when it comes to the athletic ability of Go Branson and McCoy. And so he doesn't have as much as the experience the other two has. So he's maybe the odd man out compared to the other two.
Hey, Alex, E4 Sports, you got a lot of things going on, but I want to ask you about Yard Baseball Academy. What do you guys have going on with the baseball side of things right now?
Well, it's, baseball season is in full swing and, still a lot of work to be done as always. And the Yard Baseball Academy is, we got two locations, one in Beaverton off Allen Boulevard, one over in our Milwaukee facility off of Highway 99, McLaughlin Boulevard. A great opportunity in season, baseball and softball, to take a lesson, work on your hitting, your fielding, your pitching. We also have summer camps coming up throughout the whole summer for young baseball players looking to improve. So check out the Yard Baseball Academy, theyardbba.com. Email us at team@e4sports.com. We can get you pointed in the right direction if you got a young baseball or softball athlete looking to get better. We got fantastic instructors that love working with young people and helping them improve.
Well, Alex, you're the man. Dwight and I are much smarter having talked to you, and we got to get you back on soon because you've got a date for the 4th annual We Play It golf tournament at Langdon Farms that we're pumped about. Thank you, buddy.
We absolutely do. July 15th. Look forward to having you guys again. Look forward to jumping on whenever you need me.
All right. Sounds good, buddy. Appreciate it. There you go, Alex Brink. How good is that guy?
He's the best, Chad. I mean, you talk about dependability, reliability. Give the guy a call. Boom. He's got everything he needs. All those quarterbacks. He's seen them all.
He knows them all. All right, we'll keep things rolling here on the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. Big thanks to Alex Brink. Ryan Edwards is going to join us coming up at 5:20. We got to get the latest on my Denver Broncos. When we come back, we got a pair of tickets for AEW Wrestling. And then we'll talk about the NBA once again being stupid. What's up with the 2-minute report? Have a good idea. Go up against the NFL on draft night and then put out a 2-minute report to let everyone know how wrong you were.
Yes. Yeah, we did screw this team. Just to let you know, we put the screws to them.
And we're not going to do anything to fix that, but they're screwed.
Yeah.
Thanks, Silver. Thank you, Skeletor. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, nice little Genesis remake. AEW Wrestling, Thursday night, May 16th at Motor Center. Be there to experience AEW Live with Chris Jericho and more. Get your tickets now at AEWTix.com or call 503-248-0620. And we got a pair of free tickets right now. First caller through at 503-248-0620. We'll get a pair of tickets for AEW Wrestling. Call now. Shacker will get your information, and you're in. AEW Wrestling coming up May 16th at Motor Center. Call now. It is your show and your tickets. AEW, take it over.
Aurora, call.
Donald.
Donald, yes. Kaiser.
The only reason why I know where Donald and Aurora is because there's a sign on the freeway that I exit off to get down to Spirit Mountain Casino.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only reason why. So there you go. 503-248-0620. We have a 4-pack of tickets for your Portland Thorns coming up at 5 o'clock. I was smart today. I eliminated my lisp with my canker sore. I got the Oragel.
Oh, numb it all up.
This stuff's great, man. It's like you put it in there and instantly, like I just had one of these little protein cookies and it's stinging right now. But as soon as I put more Oragel on there, boom, problem solved.
You're doing that right on camera. Nice going.
Okay. The one thing that I think is dumb in life, Godfather, is like, for instance, we do radio show, 3 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And we make mistakes throughout the entire show.
Yeah.
Might misspeak on a word. I might have a lisp. I might say the wrong team or the wrong player's
we
name.
get mixed up.
It happens all the time. What we don't do is come back the very next day with a list of errors from the previous show. Well, I said this, but I didn't mean that. I should have said this. I predicted this, but I got it wrong. I'm an idiot. And on down the line. No one does that. But yet the NBA, and I do not understand this, they come out with this 2-minute report after games to alert everyone to how many mistakes were made by the officials at the end of games. And they come forth with a full report. And my issue with this would be, why are you letting us know all the mistakes you made when telling us and admitting it, and then you're not going to be able to solve it? It's not going to fix anything. So I don't understand why they do it, because all it does is point the attention at the idiot officials for making all the mistakes they make. Why would you do that?
Referees have to just hate that. I mean, it serves no purpose either. I mean, it just makes you feel worse if your team was on the losing side. And if you're not prepared to fix your mistakes, in other words, okay, there's 26 seconds left in the game when we miss 2 fouls. Everybody before the next game has to go out and replay the last 30 seconds of the last game because we messed up and we hurt this team's chances of winning. So let's just replay from that spot.
If they were going to do that.
No.
I'm not sure I even want them to do that. Although I would feel better if they put out a 2-minute report and they say, hey, we jacked it up. We got to replay the final minute of the game or whatever.
How about we let the team that we screwed start off with a 10-point lead in the next game?
Yeah, something to at least something tangible to say we're sorry and here's what we're going to do for you.
Yeah, give them a gift.
But coming out and admitting that you were wrong when we all knew it at the time that it happened, this is my frustration with the officials. If they make these mistakes all the time, then have better controls in place to where you can fix it on the spot without having to come out with the 2-minute report. Like you mentioned yesterday, that layer of protection with the eye in the sky, where instantly someone can jump in and say, no, we got to go back and take a look at that. Like if poor Tyrese Maxey gets molested by 2 separate nicks on one play.
Twice, yeah.
And nothing happens, maybe they can go back and look at the monitor and be like, no, we missed that call. Yeah. I'm not sure how we missed that call, but we missed the call, so we're going to make sure the Knicks get the ball or the Sixers get the ball or whatever the situation may be. That would be better.
A lot better. And if you're going to have replay anyway, why not make it replay to set really bad mistakes right? The worst mistakes never get corrected, it seems like. Yeah. It's just, his foot was on the line. Well, yeah. Well, that's an easy one. Try doing something with those 2 fouls that you committed on Maxey while he was trying to get the ball.
I got stuck in YouTube mode last night, and I watched the Pacers-Celtics from 1991. It was the Game 5 at the Boston Garden where Bird went down on the hardwood, got concussed, left the game, and then entered back. And it's a classic moment. He was concussed, but he ended up just catching fire and dominating, and the Celtics won the game. But there were numerous plays where Bird got 3-point plays where I'm like, I actually rewound it, watched it again, paused it. I'm like, where's the contact?
Yeah,
there?
exactly.
Like
Hey, guys-
I want Larry Bird to get the benefit of the doubt, but there was no contact.
Chad, he's playing with a concussion. I think we need to help him out a little bit.
But you're right. Like, if you go back and you look at some of these plays,
Yeah.
it's like, seriously, where's the contact? And that stuff used to go on all the time.
Oh, it did,
with the
Chad.
Stars, where it's like you even breathe.
Yeah.
Like the one phantom call that I think is absolute garbage. Game 6 of the 1988 NBA Finals. It's probably my favorite Finals game of all time. Pistons are up in the series 3-2. Lakers are trying to go back-to-back. And Isaiah Thomas on one ankle just put up 25 points in the third quarter. Lakers are down 1 late in the game, and Lambeer's got his hands straight up in the air. Kareem goes up for a sky hook. He misses, and they call the foul. He gets 2 free throws, and the Lakers win by 1. And I'm like, where's the contact?
Yeah.
He got the call because he's Kareem.
Yeah, and it was Lambeer. You could always tag a foul on him,
It's just
You're right, though. They used to favor certain players so bad. It was terrible in those days. 2 officials on the floor, too. And often the veteran guy, Earl Strom or somebody, he'd tell the younger guy, just put the whistle in your pocket. I got the last 2 minutes. And he'd make every call in the last 2 minutes, deciding who he wanted to win sometimes, I think. I love you, Earl. Late, great.
yeah, it's ridiculous. All right, good job, NBA. Adam Silver's done a great job with the Corvette that David Stern handed him. Seriously, just taking it off a cliff.
Yeah,
Ratings are in the tank.
I know.
Networks don't want to pay the prices they're asking for.
He's making more money for the owners, though, so he's got a job for life. That's all that counts.
Well, if they don't get the TV deal where
Well, that's true. And they probably will, though. That's what I can't believe. They're holding out for this contract they have no right to get with their ratings.
All right, we'll come back. We got to talk some basketball. Now with the Mavs and Clippers last night. Everyone I know that watches the NBA and comments on it was wrong about Kyrie Irving and Luka.
Including me.
And me.
Yeah.
We were all wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know one person said, oh, I like that move. Kyrie and Luka together, money.
Well, they said the same thing when James Harden went to the Clippers. I said the same thing. That ain't going to work.
It's amazing. We'll get to it next. All right, 4 o'clock Chad here. What's going on, my friends? We got a lot going on in the world of sports. NFL draft is tomorrow. Our coverage will start with Draft Night Live, Fox Sports Radio at 5 here on 620 Rip City Radio. We spoke with Alex Brink. You can always podcast the show at ripcityradio.com or the iHeartRadio app. And we're going to head to Denver and check in with Ryan Edwards, 850 KOA at 520 to talk draft. We have NBA playoffs tonight. 2 phenomenal games at TNT coming up here in a couple of minutes. Heat and Celtics game 2. And then the Pelicans and Thunder from OKC, 6:30 on TNT. Oklahoma City favored by 7.5. Boston, a 14.5-point favorite over the Miami Heat. From golf, the PGA Tour handing out some cash. Telegraph reported Wednesday that Tiger Woods is going to receive $100 million in equity. Roy McIlroy about half the amount. More Rip City Drive coming at you right now.
Chad, who chose this song? You or Shacker?
Would you please shut your mouth and let this song play out a little bit? Gosh,
they hadn't
the
started
Godfather, just
yet.
shut up.
They hadn't even started.
Shh. Yeah, I love this song, Godfather.
I haven't heard it in a long time. But you know instantly what it is when you hear the first 2 notes.
Spanded Ballet, right, Shacker? Nice work.
Did you see what I put out, retweeted this morning? That Phil Collins, the video? Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's terrific.
I have heard him do that song a million times. For some reason, I never saw that video. Holy cow, that was power.
Phil Collins is one of my all-time favorites.
You've seen him in concert, right? I have not.
Yeah, I saw him. I'll pull up some music later. He doesn't mind if we share some of his music. I did. It's a guy that I had to go see. And he was on tour, his final tour, and he was in Phoenix the same weekend that Steve and I went down to catch some ball games. And I said, dude, let's extend out the trip. His concert's on a Tuesday night, and then we'll just leave on Wednesday. So I bought tickets for Steve and I to go to the concert, and we went. And it was great because he was there, obviously, and his son was on the drums. And even Phil, and this was when his health was deteriorating, right? He had some physical issues. He sat in a chair for most of the concert and sang.
Yeah.
But I just, I love him. My favorites, I think I've told you this before, if you play the drums and sing and write songs, I'm down with you. So Henley, Collins, and Karen Carpenter, right up my alley on that. But, yeah, Phil Collins is great. So many great songs. He actually was so good and so white-hot in the 80s that people got tired of him because he couldn't put out music without shooting straight up into the top 10. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. But that video where he just wanders down the stairs, wanders the stage, goes back up on the stairs again, and wanders towards his drum kit.
Yep.
And then when he gets close, it's just about time for that epic drum roll he does, and you can hear the fans getting psyched for it.
Yeah, it's the most famous drum fill in the history of music on In the Air Tonight. And the best part is when I was at the concert there in Phoenix, I've got video of it. I took a video.
Of course. Of course you did.
I've been known to do that.
Yeah.
Every single person in the entire arena was doing air drums in that drum fill.
Oh,
because
sure.
everyone, the anticipation was great.
You can't resist it.
No. The only thing that was really dumb that night is that my boy Steve, they have some really great pretzel places inside of the Suns Arena there.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is now, Talking Stick or America West.
Yeah,
or
whatever.
Some resort, whatever they name it now. He goes to get pretzel bites, and the knob decided not to get salt on the pretzel bites. I'm like, what is this? Where's the salt? He's like, oh, I thought I'd get them without salt. And then he took a bite and he's like, I shouldn't have done that. I'm like, yeah, dum-dum. If you're going to get a pretzel, no one gets unsalted pretzels. What in the world is going on in your mind? So that was miserable. It's like, dude, we got this fresh bag of pretzels with no salt, you dumbass.
It's so Chad doing to remember no salt on the pretzel bites at a concert many years ago.
It was such a elementary maneuver by my boy. I'm like, what are you doing?
I confess, I like a pretzel without the salt once in a
You're a
while.
dumbass,
If you
too.
have the hot mustard to dip it in.
No. Okay, fine, whatever. He didn't have mustard. There was no dipping sauce. It was just plain pretzel bites without salt.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. You wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't usually get the pretzel bites, so I'll go
my
with the full pretzel.
Okay, are you going to get it without salt?
No, probably not.
Okay, so you just
I
proved
don't
my point.
But I don't want it over salted either. Sometimes they just
The
way
bottom
too
line
much
is
salt.
you're not ordering a pretzel without salt. You might get light salt. You might get a
there you
little
go.
salt. You're not going to get it with no salt.
But you're not ordering salt with a little pretzel on the side either, okay?
No, I understand that.
Okay.
It was a big-time error on his part. We couldn't eat them. He ended up putting them under the seat, and they just went to waste.
Oh, God.
It's so dumb. What do you want me to do, lick them and then pour salt on them?
I want you to send him back and get some more with the salt.
It was just so dumb. He's like, I give up. I'm like, yeah, you should. That was really a stupid maneuver. There are certain things that people do. Like, I did ask Jen at El Gaucho the other night. I said, has anyone ever asked you for, like, steak sauce, like A1?
Oh, God. Did you really?
She goes, do you want some? And I'm like, no. I don't want any. I'm just asking if it ever happens. She goes, no. She goes, no, it's never happened. No one's ever asked her for steak sauce. It'd be inappropriate.
Well, I'm sure they don't even have it.
I think she had some. Like, they have, like, the one bottle in case there's one moron that decides not. It's the same guy that doesn't get the salt on the pretzel bites. It would be like, hey, you got any A1? I know I just spent like $100 on this steak here, but do you have any A1 I can just ruin it with?
Could I have Worcestershire sauce, please, on this?
Oh, my
steak?
gosh. What they do give you is a ladle full of the au jus from the cooking process of the meat.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's delicious.
Very nice.
So there you go. That's what I remember from that. Phil Collins being a pimp, everyone playing air drums during In the Air Tonight, and my boy Steve ordering pretzel bites without salt.
And you see I have a sport coat on because I'm going to ringside tonight.
I know. I'm aware.
I try to class up the joint when I go in, you know.
Are they going to put you in your table?
Well, they better. Yeah, I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? You're going to ask for your table, aren't you?
No, I don't have to ask for it, Chad. They just lead me back there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're going to lead you back to your table more than likely.
I
yes?
assume they will. We'll see.
Does Kerry Eggers have a table? Because I'm going to go there with
I don't
him
think
here in
so.
about a week.
No, I don't think so. You got to get in their computer. But I got to spend a lot of money there. Be my guess.
All right. He's not going to get the table then. So that's the way that's going to
not
go.
Nice.
All right. A question about the Clippers and Mavericks. You know, it's funny because just like with James Harden going to the Clippers, when they formed, when Dallas made the move to get Kyrie, I don't know a single person who is a fan, who covers the game, who covers the NBA, whatever, who said, man, this is a great pairing. Kyrie and Luka are going to be perfect. The only thing I heard was this is a disaster.
It's two ball-dominant guards.
Yes.
Very difficult to make that work.
Here's what I've learned about Kyrie and James Harden. Great players. If you're a great player, all that is required of you is embracing your role. Those guys are so good that they can play any role if they so choose to. Kyrie Irving's been terrific.
Yeah. The key is getting them to choose to. You know, that's been a problem for certain coaches, certain places, and certain players.
I think Jason Kidd might be a better coach than I have given him credit for. I thought he was dumb because I don't like him, but the reality is he's gotten those guys to play well, and I was impressed with their defensive improvement down the stretch when they made their big push for the postseason.
Yeah, my theory on him, Chad, is that I don't think he's the best XO guy. He's probably got one of those guys on his bench. What he is, though, is good at getting through some of the numbskulls that play for him.
But isn't that the most important part as a coach? It's kind of, well, you and I always talk about it, but Larry Bird, when he took over the Pacers, right, what did he do? He knew he wasn't an X's and O guy.
Yeah.
So he went out and hired Dick Harder and Rick Carlisle.
Yeah, you had Carlisle on his offense and Harder on his defense. There have never been two better coordinators in that league than those two guys.
That's right. Phil Jackson always had Tex Winter, who was the mastermind behind the triangle. So I think the key is for a coach, Steve Kerr's always had great assistants down in Golden State. You know, he brought in Wolf originally to run the defense. Alvin Gentry, you know, on his offense. He's had great coaches.
Yeah, he's got Adams down there.
Yeah. What is it, Ron Adams?
Yeah.
I said Ron Wolf. Green Bay Packer GM, now
general
turned
manager
basketball
for a
guy.
long time.
There you go. I would like to mark it down. I just made a mistake on the air. My 2-minute report, I just said Ron Wolf instead of Ron Adams.
Yeah.
And I think Ron Adams wasn't he the guy behind the Amoeba defense? Was he the UNLV guy?
Yeah,
Fresno guy.
I
He
think
worked
that's
with
true.
Tark, right?
Yeah, I think that's true.
Well, we'll check. And if not, I'll put it out in the 2-minute report tomorrow.
Yes. Look for it, folks.
All right. So I think that's the way to do it. Hire great assistants to be the technicians and then have the big personality that can get through to the numbskulls to get them to do what you need them to do. And Jason Kidd clearly has done that.
Yeah, and I think he probably, just from knowing him a bit, he's probably coaching him hard, too. I bet he's a little bit tough to play for.
Well, we need to stop the basketball talk and head out to Jackie in Sherwood. All it says on the phone screener is ringside notes.
Uh-oh.
And we're all about delicious food and great
Yes, we
places
are.
with great service. Jackie in Sherwood, what are your ringside notes, Jackie? Thanks for calling.
Hey, Chad. Hey, Godfather.
Hi.
I wanted to offer a suggestion for the Muhammad Ali table in the wine room.
Well,
Does it, yeah,
I had a party in the wine room once, and it's very comfortable in there.
it's nice, quiet, kind of private.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So
If
you're a big
That's
fan of
it.
ringside? You're a big fan of ringside, Jackie?
Ringside and Benihana.
I kind of like Benihana.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I haven't been. I've heard
Great.
it's cool.
Oh, it's a great place to take kids. Like Isaac would love it because they put on a real show, juggling the knives and spatulas and things like
Yes.
that.
That's cool.
It's really fun.
Yeah, it is.
What
but-
is your go-to when you go to ringside? What do you normally like to order, Jackie?
Probably the prime rib or the ribeye.
Yeah.
Oh, and of course the onion rings. Please order the onion rings.
Everybody orders the onion rings, Jackie. You're right. See, I will tell you, too, we had a major party in there that filled up that room, and what they did that was so great, they served everyone each course together. They trooped in there with 7 or 8 servers. They put the right dish in front of every person at the table. It was like, who had the asparagus? Who had the, whatever. They knew where everybody sat and what they wanted. It was perfect. It was so impressive. And the service there, Jackie, is just perfect.
It's amazing. And then I like how they sweep off your table with a little brush before your dessert.
Yeah.
It's genius.
There's sometimes little scraps from your bread or your onion rings. Yeah.
Yes, of course. Thank you, guys.
You got it.
Okay,
There's
thank
Jackie.
you. Always take restaurant reviews, right?
No one gives a rat's ass about our sports takes, but they love to talk food with us.
Anytime we talk food, the lines just light up, don't they?
Dude, when Jen had that little metal deal, I don't
Yeah.
know what you call it, but you scrape all
Little
the crumbs off.
scraper, yeah.
Dude, after we were done with all the sides and everything before the dessert on Friday, they needed a bulldozer to clean our table off. There was street corn everywhere. It was crazy, man.
Yeah,
It looked like a
6
tornado
guys.
went through there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some mess there.
What I want to do is, so I love Jillian from the Portland location, and I love Jen from the Vancouver location. I'm going to ask if I can get like a little tag team where I can get Jillian and Jen at the same spot. So when I walk in, Jillian welcomes me, and then Jen is a server.
Ian's going to be very disappointed, though.
But I love Ian too.
Yeah,
I want
okay.
all three.
All right.
Little El Gaucho menage a trois right there. That's my trio: Ian, Jen, and Jillian.
Okay.
Thanks, Jackie. Jackie goes with the ribeye or the prime rib. Have you had the prime rib?
Yeah, I'm not as much a prime rib guy. I'm more
But have
of
you
a
had
filet.
it though?
Have I had it?
At ringside.
Yeah.
Is it good?
Yeah. You see, for me, Chad, the prime rib's got a lot of fat on it and stuff, and that's what gives it its taste. But I just prefer to have that nice prime rib. You eat every speck of it. I mean, the nice filet.
All right. When we come back, we're going to dip into Benjamin Albright's mock draft. He's one of the best, and I want to share his thoughts on what's going to take place tomorrow. And for you wagerers out there, he gives you some ideas on how things will go down with the quarterbacks. You got the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad.
about the Chapman system. Talk about the Chapman system with about.
All right, we'll get to the mock draft in just a moment. Godfather, if you don't mind, I need to educate myself on the Chapman system for this tournament. I'm going to be
Right.
playing with Nancy. Are you okay if I do that?
Yeah, go ahead. I don't care.
All right, let's take a listen to this dude. He looks like a pretty normal guy from About.com talking about the Chapman system. So this is a couples Chapman. So let's take a listen how this works. I've got to prepare. I'm playing with the Godfather's wife, Nancy, out at Willamette Valley Country Club in a 2-day tournament on the 1st and 2nd of June. And I've got to prepare for this and make sure that I'm dialed in with my game because Nancy doesn't F around on the course. If she wants to win, she likes to try and take your money. And I don't want to be the guy that's responsible for her underachieving on this. So let's take a listen to what a Chapman system is.
Hey golfers, this is Todd Kolb with About.com.
Hi, Todd.
We're going to talk about the Chapman system. In the Chapman system, both players tee off. They then switch balls. Player A will play player B's drive, and vice versa. Each player hits his or her second shot. They then select the best of the second shots, and from that point on, until the ball is holed, they play only one ball in an alternate shot format. In the Chapman system, it's usually a two-person team, so Alex and I are going to play today.
There you go. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, that's fairly easy.
All right, so each person tees off, and then we switcheroo.
Yeah.
She
each
plays
other's-
my drive, I play her drive.
Yeah.
And then we hit our second shot, and then we choose the best location, and then we alternate shots from there.
I think you guys will be pretty good at that system.
I would agree. And I just want to get on a heater with your wife where we both get hot at the same time and can ride that momentum. I'm excited to play with Nancy. She is a good athlete and very smart, and she takes things seriously.
Yeah, she does. And she gets mad at me for saying she wants to win. She wants to compete. She wants to have a chance to win. That's the appropriate way to say it.
I don't take her or her family as losers. I think they do like to win. Yeah, so I understand what I'm getting myself into. I did not ask her yet, but will they have the Asian mix at the turn? Because that stuff's delicious.
Oh, you can fill your pockets. Yeah.
I love that Asian mix. The wasabi, though, it's got a nice little zing to it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, good. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, you just dash into Lucky's, fill one of those little cups, and dash back out again.
It's genius.
Yeah.
Absolutely genius. All right, let's talk draft. Benjamin Albright from 850 KOAs, an NFL insider. The reason why I'm sharing his mock draft is because I believe he is the best. He is incredibly well connected. I know him, and he's been working really hard to try and get this right. And year after year after year, his projections and predictions for what's going to go down across the league, in season, out of season, and with the draft is usually spot on. So I thought we could work through some of these picks, Godfather, just to get his take on what's going to go down. And he's also included the trades with the compensation based on what he's picking up from other people, his contacts around the league on what he thinks is going to happen. So he delivers some advanced intel with the draft, Benjamin Albright. He says, I think there is one specific scenario in which the Broncos would trade up. I did not project that here, but if a certain quarterback were available at a certain point, I think they would try. There are a couple of teams I'm aware of that are monitoring and would possibly move from the second round back into the first. The Texans and Commanders are two of those teams. I believe the Commanders want an offensive tackle. The Bills have made calls about moving up for a wide receiver, but as of this writing, I don't see that happening. There's a lot of talk centered around Michael Penix in the first recently. Most people I've talked to, their teams aren't considering that, but could see another team doing that. I'd suggest that the leading teams to trade back in and do what would be the Patriots, the Giants, and possibly the Raiders, who love Jaden Daniels. There are some wide receivers that may be traded during the draft that could definitely shake up the outcomes. Brandon Ayuk from San Francisco, and Cortland Sutton from Denver. Quite a few teams trying to burn the phones up as of this writing to get up and get their tackle. I expect a lot of trades. So, and then he lists out his draft. So there you go. Now, the quarterback that I think he's referring to for Denver that if is available and the Broncos would look to trade up, from everything I'm hearing, is Jaden Daniels. That's who I think it is. They love Jaden Daniels.
Oh.
And
But
if he were to become available, if he doesn't go at number 2,
Yeah.
meaning he's not locked in to go to Washington, and if the Patriots are not looking to take a quarterback, that's where they might unload the future picks to move up and get a guy like that. So something to keep an eye on in terms of guys you'll move up for. That's who I think he's talking about. But, again, he doesn't think that's going to happen.
Right. Good. And there's other teams that would be interested in making that deal, too.
Yeah, absolutely. The Raiders would be one of those teams.
Mm-hmm.
But, again, everything we're hearing, Washington's going to take Jaden Daniels. And it doesn't matter what the Raiders want or what the Broncos want or what any other team wants. If Washington takes Daniels, there's nothing they can do about it. And that's just the way it goes, right? And why would you? If you're Washington and you believe in Daniels and you think he's the right guy for your team, then you take that guy.
Yeah.
Or if you're Washington and you think Drake May's the guy, then you take him. But things will get pretty crazy if Washington decides to take May instead of Daniels, and then Daniels is available, then the Patriots are going to start to get blown up big time, where teams are going to up the ante, up their offer, and maybe that's what the Patriots are waiting for, right? We talked to Alex Brink about this. I truly believe the Patriots should not draft a quarterback. I think they should wait, see what happens, and then before they take their pick, get a trade and get the most haul in return for that number 3 pick. And the reason why is very simple. In order to develop a quarterback, you've got to have certain things in place. You got to have a foundation with talent. You got to be able to protect them. You need some playmakers. And they've got a young coach. They've got an entirely new front office with a brand new first-year coach in Gerard Mayo. Right now is not the good time to draft a quarterback because they don't have the structure in place to be able to properly develop him.
Sure.
And then you might get pressure to get him on the field too soon. And then what happens?
You destroy him.
Yeah. And you don't want to do that. So if you're the Patriots and you know you've got time, get a haul and just add pieces to all these different parts of your team, develop them, and then get your quarterback a year or two down the road when you've got a better foundation in place to develop. I mean, don't you think that makes sense?
Well, of course.
Yeah.
We've seen the bad thing happen too many times.
Yeah, it's awful.
Oh,
you destroy a guy.
Happens all. It'll happen this year probably with somebody.
But the question with the Patriots, of course, is, as you've already mentioned, who's in charge? Is it Kraft? Is it his son? Is it the coach? Is it the general manager?
It's the kid.
Of course it is. All right, so here's Benjamin Albright's first-round draft, his mock. He's got the Bears taking Caleb Williams. He says this is a no-brainer. Everyone has known this since the Senior Bowl when they were openly shopping Justin Fields despite reports to the contrary. So Caleb Williams, number 1. Number 2, quarterback Jaden Daniels. Almost universally, everyone I talked to had him over Drake May. So Albright, who's talking to all these different teams, basically everyone's got Jaden Daniels, number 2, behind Caleb Williams. And he's got him going to the Commanders. The Patriots at 3, quarterback Drake May. He says, I really thought the Vikings might crack and make the trade to get here. Ultimately, the Pats take May. At number 4, the Cardinals, once thought to be a prime team to trade out for teams looking to get a quarterback, namely J.J. McCarthy. He's got Marvin Harrison Jr. going to the Cards. He says, while a trade back is possible, I suspect the parties that had been interested simply aren't willing to give up enough to move them. So to get to 4, the price is going to be extremely high for the Vikings, Broncos, whoever. And in the end, they're going to say, nah, we're good because we think we can get to 5 and pay less and make a deal with Harbaugh.
Yeah.
And then that's going to end with Harrison going to the Cards. And if you're Kyler Murray, you're okay with that because Harrison, based on all the reports, route running, receiver, he's just got the best package. And there's some big-time wide receivers in this draft. Even if you don't get Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, I mean, there's Neighbors, the list of receivers, not just in the first round, but deep into the draft. This is a deep wide receiver class, which is pretty cool. Number 5, he's got the Vikings moving up in a trade with the Chargers to draft quarterback J.J. McCarthy. After missing on May, 4 quarterbacks in the top 5, Vikings only give 1 first this year. Number 6, Giants drafting wide receiver Malik Neighbors. Several teams have him as their top wide receiver in this draft. At number 7, Godfather, he's got the Titans drafting offensive tackle Joel Alt. but he also says don't rule out a wide receiver here. For the Falcons, they've done a great job over the last couple of years of adding playmakers, skill position players. This year, he's got them taking an edge rusher, Dallas Turner. Best coverage edge rusher for a scheme that demands their edges drop back at times. Latu is in play here as well. And Latu is the stud from UCLA.
Yeah.
He's got the Saints via Chicago. Offensive tackle Olu Fashunu. The Saints move up and fill a huge need. So he's got the Saints and Bears doing a deal. The Jets at 10, and that makes sense for the Bears. They get their quarterback at number 1 with Caleb Williams. You've got a second pick in the top 10. Move that pick, collect more draft picks, and then continue to add pieces around so you can fill those holes, which is pretty cool. All right, next up, he's got the Jets taking tight end Brock Bowers. He says versatile mismatch tight end off the line, a Y for Aaron Rodgers, and Fuaga is a consideration here. But you're a big fan of Brock Bowers, right?
I love Bowers, man. That guy is a beast.
All right. He's got the Chargers at 11 via Minnesota. He's got offensive lineman J.C. Latham. He says, I think the Chargers can get a quality wide receiver later, and that's because of the deep wide receiver class.
Yeah.
This makes sense for Jim Harbaugh. This is why he's willing to move out of 5. He wants to build at the line of scrimmage and get the protection and the physicality up front that they need to make sure that Justin Herbert has the protection. They can run the football and have balance on offense. Doesn't that seem like a Jim Harbaugh type move?
Yeah.
At number 12, he's got the Eagles making a deal with Denver so they can move up and take cornerback Quinyon Mitchell. He says the Eagles trade up to get their corner and give up pick number 50. At number 13, he's got the Raiders taking cornerback Terrion Arnold. He says the Raiders could look to go offensive line here as well, not buying Penix at 13 hype. At 14, he's got the Bears in that deal with New Orleans. The Bears, taking defensive tackle Byron Murphy. He says the Bears land the premier inside defensive line talent in the draft. At 15, he's got the Colts taking wide receiver Rome Odunze. He says the slide for Odunze stops here, adds a weapon for Anthony Richardson.
That's late for Rome.
Yes, could see trade down here. At number 16 for the Seahawks, he's got them taking offensive tackle Troy Fatunu. He says offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb was his collegiate coach. So there you go. Offensive tackle for the Hawks. The 49ers via Jacksonville. Wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr. I projected an Ayuk trade and a pick swap here. So he's got Ayuk being moved by the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
For the Bengals, he's got them taking Talise Fuaga. And he says that Fuaga is going to slide to 18, but it stops here. So the Bengals, once again, adding protection up front. And Fuaga is great.
Good idea.
Give Joe Burrow some protection.
Yeah.
He's got the Rams taking the edge rusher from UCLA, Latu. He says, I think offensive tackle would be a strong consideration here as well. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
For the Steelers, offensive lineman Graham Barton. The Steelers need a center as well, which is well known. Russ needs a clean A gap to operate. For the Dolphins, he's got them taking offensive lineman Jackson Powers Johnson. He says, I think they'd love Barton to be here, but McDaniel would love JPJ's personality. He says the Broncos, in that trade back with Philadelphia, they take edge rusher Jared Verse. Possibly the Broncos could move back yet again and grab more picks. Nix is a day 2 talent. Number 23, the Vikings. He's got them taking offensive lineman Tyler Guyton. The Cowboys taking an offensive lineman at 24, Maris Mims. The Packers taking defensive back Cooper DeJean. Versatile defensive back, can play safety or corner. Wouldn't be surprised to see the Packers try to move up. At number 26, the Buccaneers. And they're going to take an edge rusher and Chop Robinson. He says they got a couple of options here, cornerback or edge. Ultimately, he thinks they're going to go edge. For the Commanders via Arizona, offensive lineman Patrick Paul. He's got the Bills taking wide receiver Xavier Worthy out of Texas. And Worthy was the guy we saw in the playoffs. Great speed. He's a burner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's got the Lions taking cornerback Kool-Aid McKinstry. Lions could be a trade back candidate here. Ravens got them taking an offensive lineman in Jordan Morgan. He says, went back and forth with this one, probably my most debated pick. For the Jaguars, via that deal with San Francisco, cornerback Nate Wiggins. And for the Chiefs, offensive lineman Kingsley Sua Matea, BYU connection once again for Andy Reid. Now, here's the trade compensation he's got down. For Minnesota and LA Chargers, the Chargers give 5 overall for 11, 129, and a 2025 first and a 2026 second.
That's pretty good.
That's a good compensation for Harbaugh. For New Orleans and Chicago, Chicago gives number 9 overall for pick 14 and a 2025 second-round pick, number one, and pick 150. Philadelphia and Denver. Denver gives up pick 12 for 22, 50, and 172, which would be great value for Denver. That would give them a second-round pick and an option to maybe look at Bo Nix at that point on day 2. San Francisco and Jacksonville. Jacksonville gives up pick 17, 116 for Ayuk and 31. And Washington, Arizona. Arizona gives up 27 for 36 and 78. So there you go. That is Benjamin Albright's mock draft. And, of course, in his draft, he's got 4 guys, 4 quarterbacks going day 1, which would be Williams, Daniels, May, 1, 2, 3. Arizona taking Marvin Harrison Jr., and then the Chargers making that deal with Minnesota so the Vikings can move up and get their quarterback.
There is a lot of chatter about more quarterbacks than that going on day 1.
Yeah. Yep, there is chatter about it, but I think it's just that, chatter. I think most teams will get in their position. They'll realize that they can access Nix or Penix on day 2, and they're going to go with better talent at that position. For the Broncos, it makes sense. They need draft picks, right? So if you're at 12, no need to take a risk on a quarterback there. Just trade out and then collect multiple picks so you can move back, get a quarterback in the later rounds, but still have more ammunition to continue to add to your team, which needs help talent-wise. I like that. I mean, I wouldn't take Nix or Penix in the teens at all. I might look at it maybe at 31 or 32, but I don't want to risk on a guy that I just don't know if he's going to be a good quarterback or not. I mean, even Alex Brink that we talked to had what? Nix is his number 6 quarterback of the top 6. But he did have Penix higher, and you like Penix a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
He went
I like Nix a lot, too.
Williams, May, and Penix.
Yeah.
But
he had May higher than – most people now don't have him number 2.
No, but he had May higher than Daniels. He had Penix higher than Daniels. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you like Penix more than Nix, don't you?
Yeah, but I like Nix. I like Nix in the first round.
So you would draft Nix in the first round?
Yeah, heck yes.
All right. There you go. Benjamin Albright's mock draft. We'll keep things rolling here on the show. We're going to talk with Ryan Edwards from KOA in Denver. He's going to join the show coming up at 5:20. And when we come back, we're going to talk about JetBlue. How many of you out there fly JetBlue?
That's a good question.
They're trying to find a way to get more people on, and it seems like they found a way entertainment-wise, right?
Have you ever flown JetBlue?
I have.
Have you? I never have. Huh.
It's not a Godfather airline.
Not worthy?
No, you would not be happy with JetBlue. No.
Okay.
For a guy that likes Ringside and El Gaucho, you're not flying JetBlue.
It's not the Ringside of airlines?
No, it's not. All right, we'll come back and discuss that. You got the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. This is a great remake by No Doubt from the original from Talk Talk. Give me some volume. Now, Shacker, is it Gwen Stefani who is the front lady for No Doubt?
Yeah, this is before she went solo. She was still with No Doubt at this time.
I'm down with her.
But it was her life, and she went solo.
All right, Godfather, what is your airline of choice? Is it Alaska?
Yeah, it is.
And why is Alaska your airline of choice?
Mostly, I think, customer service, and I've accumulated a lot of miles. They now fly just about everywhere I want to go. I don't have any trouble. A lot of direct flights. If it's not direct, all I have to do usually is take the little one hopper up to Seattle and then jump on a direct flight. So,
Shacker, what's your airline of choice?
Well, it's been Alaska for years, but this is the first year I've had negative thoughts about that airline.
just because their doors fall off.
Yeah.
Come on.
And their pilots are high on shrooms.
Oh, but yeah, but they all are, I'm sure. Gee.
I don't think I want my pilots on shrooms.
Yeah, and I want my doors to
Not
stay attached to
psychedelics.
the plane.
I'm going to burn a little tree or whatever, but no psychedelics like that. I like Alaska a lot. I fly Southwest primarily because I spend most of my time traveling here on the West Coast, and they have a ton of flights to get to all these different locations.
They're cheaper too, right?
Well, yeah, but the cost between Southwest and Alaska they're comparable in terms of fares, but the big difference is that Southwest doesn't charge bag fees, and they don't charge you to make any changes. In fact, if you book a different flight that's cheaper, they give you the difference. They're very user-friendly like that, and I like that. I don't like paying bag fees. It's one of the biggest scams in the history of the world.
Yeah, see, we don't pay them because we have Alaska credit cards, so you don't have to pay.
Okay, but the other people that don't have Alaska credit cards do have to pay the bag fees.
Yeah.
Which is dumb.
Yeah, but any airline you fly with, you better have the credit card. I mean, you're just missing a chance to accumulate miles with them.
That's
with
not my
your
point,
credit
though.
card.
At Southwest, they don't charge you a bag fee whether you have their card or not. I do have a Southwest credit card just because I want the points, right?
Yeah.
What I'm saying is the bag fee in general that's a scam. That is a rip job that they somehow found a way to get away with, and now it's just an accepted part of the cost. I'm not down with that, man. So wait a second, it costs you extra. I need to bring a suitcase because I'm traveling, and you've got to charge me a bag fee? Why, does it cost extra to load that suitcase onto the plane? Yeah, that's one of those charges that I think is dumb.
Well, I wish they'd stop charging bag fees so that people might check their bags now instead of trying to jam them into the overhead compartments when they don't fit. I get so tired of that on an airplane. Some guy's got his giant bag and he can't get the thing closed, and they have to gate check it and hold the plane up while this clown gets his giant bag off there.
Most plane behavior is highly inappropriate.
That's true.
People in their pajamas, people with bare feet,
bare feet,
people with body odor, people talking too loud, people harassing one another. It just doesn't work. It's a big train wreck just waiting to happen. But JetBlue, not a Godfather airline, they've got a new entertainment offering. It's a personalized experience within its seatback entertainment system. The platform called Blueprint by JetBlue, it's very creative there, guys, will be available on the carrier's Airbus, the A321, the A321LR, and the A2220 planes, as well as on most of its A320s that have been reconfigured with the carrier's modern interiors. The rollout has begun and completion expected next month. Among the features is the ability for flyers to pick up a film or TV show where they left off from a previous flight within a 6-month period. The platform also provides personalized content recommendations based on the flyer's previous viewing history. In addition, travelers can save film and TV show selections to watch on future flights, and they can save settings such as volume, language, parental controls, and closed caption preferences to be carried over from flight to flight. What do you think about that?
I like it. One of my pet peeves has been, the whole idea of having to pay for the internet on the plane, or when you get the TV, it doesn't work, or you start watching a film on one and then you transfer planes, you can't get the end of that film up on the next plane. I don't know. It's a hassle. I usually just use my phone for any of that.
Well, this is part of the genius of the YouTube Premium, the $9.99 that I spend that Shaka refuses to buy because he's a dum-dum.
Yeah.
Well, what you can do is you can download any video you want as long as you're a premium.
Sure.
And so I create a playlist, and so when I'm on the plane, I just watch YouTube videos from my phone. I don't need internet to be able to do that.
I do that with podcasts. Before I get on, I'll get a 3-hour podcast downloaded, and I'm fine once it's downloaded. I don't need their internet.
And the other thing that's great about Southwest is they do have the free TV, just like JetBlue. So you can watch live programming, CBS, Fox, different sporting events if you're flying during a game or whatever.
Alaska has that too, I think. No?
Yeah. So that's what I do. The
It's
YouTube
nice.
is genius.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what I don't like about JetBlue is like a lot of these airlines where they advertise a price, but then when you factor in all the add-on charges for all their other little, quote, conveniences, then the price ends up being much more.
I once flew Frontier because it was the only way to get from X to Y at a certain time.
I'm done with them.
They
They're dead
charged
to
me for water.
Yeah.
That was terrible.
I know. I was so ticked off because I got on the plane, got boarded, and asked for a cup of coffee. And they're like, yeah, that'll be $2.50 or whatever the price was.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
probably $5, but yeah.
I'm like, wait, what? I just want a cup of coffee. Well, you charge for coffee? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, why? And she goes, well, you're in these seats instead of those seats.
Oh, yeah.
And so when I got off the plane, I was furious, and I started tweeting at them because I couldn't believe they were trying to hit me up for coffee. And then they kept responding saying, oh, that's because you were in these seats and not these seats. I'm like, no, you're missing the point. I don't care what seat I'm sitting in. You shouldn't be charging me for a black cup of coffee, you moron.
Well, you should have spent $100 more for the other seat, and then you could have gotten free coffee.
Yeah, whatever. I'm done. That was a one-time trip. I'm done with Frontier.
Yeah, me too.
That was when I was going to Denver for some sporting event. I didn't fly back on Frontier. I canceled the flight and I booked a flight on Southwest and flew back. Because I refused to travel on them. So I ate a few bucks to prove my point. I was like, I'm done with you. I'm not. You're not charging me for coffee because I don't. That's nickel and diming to the highest extent right there. We're going to charge you for a bag. If you don't sit in these seats, you can't get a free cup of coffee. It's like just, I can only take so much, Godfather.
And I think they're making more money now than they ever have. Airports are just jammed. People are back flying again.
Yeah. And you still got planes that are like falling, pieces of planes falling out of the sky, too. Thanks, Boeing. Thank you for your safety standards, you clowns. Jeez.
I can't imagine being on the ground and look up at the sky. Here comes a door off a big jet.
No disrespect to the guy on the ground. I would not want to be sitting in a seat when half the wall next to me flies out.
Yeah, those people turned out okay, though. It was more hazardous.
I can't believe you. You're worried about the guy on the ground with the door in his backyard instead of the people on the plane about to have a heart attack.
Well, nobody on the plane got hurt.
And the guy on the ground didn't get hurt either.
I know. He's lucky. He didn't go in his backyard.
All right. I hope the door flies out on your next flight, and then you tell me who you feel worse for, the guy on the ground or yourself.
That's what seatbelts are for. Keep it buckled, pal.
All right. When we come back, we will keep things rolling here. We're going to talk with Ryan Edwards, who's going to join the show coming up at 5. And we're going to talk a little NBA playoffs, Minnesota Phoenix, Pacers, and Bucks. And I got a 4-pack of tickets for the Thorns to give away. All right, what's going on, my friends? It is now 5 o'clock. NBA playoffs tonight. Right now, second quarter in Boston. The Celtics on top of the Heat, 44-40. That game is on TNT. Coming up at 6:30 down in Oklahoma City, the Pelicans and Thunder. OKC with a 1-0 series lead after winning game one by 2 points. Elsewhere, we got the NFL draft coming up tomorrow. Our coverage will begin at 5 with Draft Night Live, Fox Sports Radio here on 620. We're going to talk with Ryan Edwards, 850 KOA at 520, and get his thoughts on the quarterbacks and what Sean Payton is thinking. And from golf, the PGA is kicking out some bonus cash, $100 million to Tiger. Roy McIlroy will get 50. Other golfers will receive a hefty amount, courtesy of the PGA Tour Enterprises for their loyalty. All right, Godfather, some of the details. So the Telegraph reported today that Tiger Woods is going to receive $100 million in equity as part of the newly created for-profit PGA Tour Enterprises, with McIlroy getting about half that amount. The payouts, which are set to be disclosed to the players by PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan, are a way to thank players for sticking with the PGA Tour instead of jumping to their rival Live Golf League and huge paydays from the Saudis' Public Investment Fund. Nearly 200 players will receive a stake, with $750 million of it going to the top 36 players based on a formula that weighs career success and cultural popularity, according to the Telegraph. Other notable payouts include $30 million for Jordan Spieth. I don't think he deserves anything after the Masters performance. Justin Thomas, while $75 million is targeted to go to notable retired players. To receive the money, players would have to continue to remain loyal to the PGA Tour, with the funds vesting over the next 8 years, according to the Telegraph. And going forward, the PGA Tour plans to award $100 million per year to the players. There you go. Interesting.
I guess I don't really understand what's going on between
Well, you're not
Live
the only one.
and PGA. It's incomprehensible to me. I don't understand. All of a sudden, they're throwing money at these guys, but they got to get it over 8 years. In other words, don't you be leaving now anytime soon, or that money's going to stop.
A couple of messages have come in. You can find me on X at Chad in Rip City. Jeff Kemp chimes in. Hey, Chad, it's time to get an Alaska Airlines credit card and enjoy actually getting book and assigned seat. Show up 5 minutes before boarding. No standing in lines like grade schoolers waiting for recess.
I agree with that.
That part's nice. I do not understand. I was talking with a Southwest pilot once about the whole idea of group boarding. I'm still not sure I understand the whole group boarding process. But if you're in Group A, it's never an issue.
I kind of like having an assigned seat to know I'm going to be on the aisle if I'm not there when the doors open, you know.
That's true. But if you're in Group A, which you can make sure you're in Group A, you're going to get the seat you want. I just don't understand what the benefit is of group boarding compared to having assigned seats. I don't understand it. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Also, John chimes in. So I take it you're not a big fan of Southwest.
You know, one thing, I don't think they have the newest planes. I've found them sometimes not real clean. Whereas I like getting the newer version of airplanes.
Well,
even if they tend to crash once.
You don't like seeing an ashtray in your airplane?
No, I don't.
I just know that Southwest has not had a fatal crash in their history. I like that record. I like that. Now, I do think sometimes when I fly, maybe I'm the one that's going to be a part of their first, but
yeah,
I have a lot of negative thoughts when I fly because I don't like flying. John chimes in. I was gifted some Masters snacks from a friend, and while on vacation, my wife ate them all. Didn't even save the bags. Hey, Chad, is this enough of a reason to call Goldberg Jones? I've never been so mad about chips before. John, 1-800-DIVORCE and ask for Colin. Yeah, you can't be. No wife, a good wife, should not be taking Master snacks that were given to the husband and enjoying all for herself. That seems inappropriate.
Yeah, those are souvenirs, keepsakes.
Now, I will say this, John, if you try to challenge your wife on this, that's probably not going to go well for you either. So there, good luck with that.
That's a tough one.
Yeah. There are things that you probably look at where you're like, that's annoying, but I'm not going to say anything to Nancy because it's not worth it. What does my dad always say? You got to pick your battles.
Pick your battles.
And those are few and far between.
Yeah.
He goes, occasionally you've got to pick a battle, but he goes, most of the time he's like, does it matter what we have for dinner?
Yeah, I know.
That's the way my dad looks at it. Because I'm like, Dad, how have you managed to be married for over 50 years? Everything seems to be still going pretty strong. He goes, well, I learned early on that stressing about $1 here and $1 there is pointless because money comes and goes. And then he said, all the other things in life, like, think about it. Is it really worth it to get pissed off? He didn't say that, but he said, is it really worth getting upset about what you're going to have for dinner? Where you're going to go to eat? No. He has estimated that it's not, and therefore he lets it go. And he doesn't worry about it.
Yeah, there's a balance sheet there, and it usually weighs heavily to your wife's side. It's better to just, go with the flow.
Yeah, I think so. All right, there you go. So, yes, you cannot. 1-800-DIVORCE, John. Make the phone call now. Remember, your first call is free, and call and we'll answer all of your questions. All right, NBA basketball. Minnesota continuing in Game 2 against Phoenix to do exactly what they've done all season long. Execute really well and play great defense. And some of those big-time offensive stars for the Suns struggling mightily against Minnesota's defense, which was basically number one throughout the entire season.
Devin Booker, he can't find air, man. They are shutting him down. That kid, McDaniel, he's doing a number on him. He really is.
What impresses you most about Minnesota's defense? A lot of people hear good defense, or what is a good defense? Like, what does Minnesota do that's so effective?
Well, I'll tell you what. Here's the thing. They got Rudy Gobert in the middle. Okay, he's as good a goaltender as you're going to find, really. But in Utah, he didn't have the people around him buying into the same defensive concepts that made him better. In Minnesota, that coach has been able to install a system where they're funneling people Rudy's way.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing his part, but the other guys are stopping a lot of penetration that he might have seen before. Don't make it, a lot of these teams, they get that rim protector and they figure, it's okay now to let the guy beat me on the perimeter because he's just going to block everything. Well, no, he's not going to block 25 shots. And you don't want to have him in foul trouble because he's trying to block dunks from good players. And he's in a position in Minnesota to succeed. That's what makes them better. But their concepts, their schemes are really sound.
I've never asked you this, but I was thinking about this the other day when we were talking about Nikhil Walker-Alexander, who both Portland and Utah gave up on. Have you ever talked to a GM where I've always wondered with GMs, like, if they let a player go and then they're watching them a couple of years down the road and they're like, oh, no.
I have. Yeah. Well, in Portland, really, and they knew this was going to happen.
Jermaine?
No. Even worse, really, was Drazen Petrovic. This guy, Drazen, is in the Hall of Fame. Now, not based totally on his NBA career, but what he did in Europe and everything. He was tremendous. He would have been a tremendous trailblazer. But they were loaded. They had guards. They had guards all over the place. And what are you going to do? Clyde, Terry, Danny Ainge. There's no minutes for him. And they thought, hey, let's go get Walter Davis. Against us, he never misses a shot. Well, they made the deal. It was one of those deals. Let's gear up to win a title. It didn't quite work. And
I love Walter, but that was a bad move.
Yeah, he was done by the time they got him. It was unfortunate because he was a great player. He was an all-star player for years.
So Petro goes to New Jersey, and you watch him, you're like, oh, crap.
Oh, man, he was so good. He became an all-star. And, the Jermaine O'Neal that deal haunted them forever. Same situation. Gosh, we can't guard Shaq. Well, I saw this game on TV where Dale Davis did a pretty good job with Shaq. He couldn't stop him, but he at least kind of kept him down a little bit. Yeah, okay, whatever.
I never saw anyone that did a good job on Shaq in his heyday. Maybe the best was friggin' Sabas. Sabas at least had some girth and some strength to be able to somewhat manage with the power of Shaq.
And unfortunately for Sabas, those were the days where Shaq got every call. He got a ton of calls in those days.
Oh, speaking of getting every call, do you have those numbers in front of you with
God.
the foul disparity between the Lakers and everybody else?
Yeah.
If you have it, once you get it, let me know because I'd love to
Oh, my
have you
God.
share that number because people, this is why we think the NBA is a little bit squirrely with the way games are called. Inconsistency, certain teams or players maybe getting the favors from the officials. You know, like the big market teams and how the NBA favors those teams. Everyone thinks this. It's like we believe that the NBA wants to set it up a certain way.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
it's
they
funny
do.
when you get certain teams that complain and yet they get all the calls. It's absurdity.
Yeah. It's terrible.
All right, 503-248-0620. Indiana last night, Godfather. You like their offense, right? You thought they would bounce back and take game two. What'd you see from their offense and Rick Carlisle?
Well, they run, and they play at such a fast pace. And nobody's used to seeing that anymore because no one does that. But they do. And Halliburton at guard is he's a great facilitator for that offense. Now, he's still not going offensively. When he starts making shots, look out. But he is distributing the ball as well as he does. And it's, I think they're a real tough matchup. They're really tough for Milwaukee. Milwaukee can't run. And you put Dame in a position where he's got to carry them. And that's difficult for him. I don't know. It's not going to work, Chad. I don't think
What's not going to work?
Well, they're short of players defensively, especially.
Well, yeah, they're missing the second best player in the world in Giannis.
That's what I said. It's not going to work. How are they going to defend these guys without him?
Well,
I don't think it's going to work.
Here's how I see the series going. It's going to go back and forth because neither team is particularly good on defense. Indiana's not a good defensive team either, so they're going to have games where they give up a bunch of points too. Neither team plays effective defense, so you're going to have these wild, high-scoring games.
Yeah,
so
but
really
I
it's going to come down to who makes the threes.
Well, Indiana, I think, is a better offensive team than Milwaukee is. That's what I think. And not because one guy's going to score 45 points, because they run you to death. They score a lot of points. They do. And they don't make a lot of threes, but they get all those cheap twos. And that's important.
I see it going 7 games. I think it's going to be a long series. Do you have the Lakers numbers yet?
I'm working on it.
He's killing me. All right, we'll come back and talk to
I
Ryan
got them
Edwards.
right. I got them right now.
You do?
Want them?
All right,
Yeah.
give them to me.
This is a differential last 2 seasons with regular season and playoffs. Differential now. The amount of free throws they shoot compared to their opponents. The Lakers, 1,113 free throws more than their opponents shoot. The next team down, next most, is the Knicks, 379. I mean, they're not double. They're like almost triple.
Okay.
That's not an accident. I'm sorry.
Now, to be fair, how much of that is the Lakers being – they're one of the – in terms of attacking the basket and playing in the paint, they're not a three-point shooting team. They attack inside more than the other team in the game.
No, they don't. Not anymore. Oklahoma City attacks the basket more. In fact, I think there's now 7 or 8 teams that attack the basket more than the Lakers do. They're just getting foul calls.
All right.
That's what it's coming down to.
But again, it doesn't matter because these guys try their best and they work so hard, right? You were defending those clowns yesterday. How can you look at those numbers and say the officials do a good job? Because it's a hard job.
Well, it is a hard job.
You can't be better than that. What?
I don't know if
it's so hard that you got to have a major disparity with the Lakers.
Do you think it's that they're missing calls? Or do you think it's because that's just the way they're officiating games? They're helping the Lakers out. Do you think LeBron James, you think the league wants him on television? Yeah, I think he's their meal ticket.
I know, but that's the problem. I think the NBA is sending a memo out to their officials saying, watch this closely. And as a result,
that's what's happening.
The Lakers are getting the benefit of the doubt. That's what I think is happening. I can't prove it, but that's what I think is going on.
I think a lot of people think that's what's going on. People in the league think that.
Meaning, if you're an official and you want to keep your job and the league sends out a memo, they're not telling you to call more fouls on the opposing team when they're playing the Lakers, but they give you a list of things to really pay attention to.
Yeah, and they're all on one side.
Yeah, and then when you put – and obviously you're going to go into it with that on top of your mind, so you're going to be quick to blow the whistle.
Yep.
All right, we'll head to Denver next. All right, one of our iHeart sister stations in Denver is 850 KOA, and this gentleman here is part of KOA Sports. He's on X at R. Edwards Radio and does a heck of a job. Ryan Edwards is back on the Rip City Drive. Ryan, man, happy draft eve. Thanks for coming on.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Well, let's start with this. What does the trade for Zach Wilson mean for the Broncos and the draft tomorrow?
I don't know, man. I think very little ultimately, but it does give them some flexibility, in my opinion. You were looking at it as Jarrett Stidham and Ben DiNucci is your quarterback room before that trade. And if you aren't going to be heavy in a trade up, what are you doing? I mean, you're clearly sending a message not only to the locker room but also the fan base that you're tanking. So the fact is, you kind of had to do something else. Now, there's some people out there that wanted him to bring in Ryan Tannehill. I don't think that's really the direction you want to go right now, especially with your cap. They're a good cap situation now, and they're going to be even better. But I think in the end, you wanted to swing for some upside. And, maybe a change of scenery with Zach Wilson. You didn't pay a lot to get him. They're even splitting his contract. You're swapping late-round picks. I think it's just one of those great situations for everybody. He needs a change of scenery. The Broncos get a guy in there in a one-year rental. And if they can't get their quarterback at the top of the draft, then guess what? You're going to draft somebody maybe day 2, day 3, and then you're going to have Zach Wilson in there competing. I think it's an okay situation to be in, but certainly not in a position where, oh my gosh, we couldn't trade up to 4, and now we're stuck with Ben DiNucci and Jarrett Stidham in a quarterback competition. That's what you don't want.
Yeah. There's been a lot written, I think presumptuous in some cases, but do you have a feel, Ryan, for which of these quarterbacks the coach likes? Who does Sean Payton like out of this group?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. The tough thing about it is he really likes to keep these things close to the vest, and I think most coaches and GMs say they like to do that, even though there's usually leaks. But I genuinely believe that. Now, again, the reports are J.J. McCarthy probably is the guy that he has the most interest in, and that makes a lot of sense, right? I mean, you're thinking about, maybe the most pro-ready guy, maybe not needing a ton of time. I mean, again, depending on who you listen to as far as analysts go, doesn't need a ton of time to get acclimated to the NFL game. But listen, I think a lot of it comes down to just, vibing with that quarterback, winning a chance to work with him. But they spent, he even admitted it. He went out of his way to tell us at the owners' meetings that he spent 4 hours working out this guy in a private workout. And I don't know, man. I don't know how many job interviews you've done. If I've done a 4 or 5 hour job interview, I'm starting to think that either they don't like me and try to punish me, or there's something to this. So I think there's something there. I think that would be the guy. But once again, where can you get up to? Because, 4 with Arizona, they probably want a wide receiver. They're going to probably be asking for a lot. 5, that's not going to happen. There's no way Jim Harbaugh is going to let the Broncos have his quarterback in the same division. And then what are the Giants going to do? So it becomes interesting. You'd almost have to slip past number 6 for this to be a viable conversation, in my opinion.
Hey, Ryan, what are your thoughts on the people you've spoken with? And you've been covering this story at length, but J.J. McCarthy's meteoric rise, throughout the offseason, going into the draft, where now he's thought to be a top 6 quarterback taken.
I think a lot of it has to do with most of our belief in what Michigan is, right? They're a run-heavy team. They play really good defense. They're just a solid. They're one of those teams that really just beats you up, and that's not the high-flying offense, right? I mean, and you're not going to have. I mean, you have a wide receiver on there that might get drafted day 2 kind of thing, but it's not like Ohio State where you have every year it's going to be top 10, 20 wide receivers, right? I mean, you just don't have a lot of that name recognition, and so you get to this team and you're like, well, it's a run-heavy team, and you have questions about whether J.J. McCarthy, they're trying to hide him or they don't trust him because they're running the ball a ton, especially late in the year. But the reality is that's just what they do, and that's just who they are. But then when you go watch them some more, and I certainly did, You see what he does on third down. You see the decision making, and you see him changing protections at the line. Those are the kinds of things that get you really excited about what he can do, because he's reading the field, and we know the college game. That's not always the case. It's half field reads most of the time, right? It's the coach is telling the quarterback where to throw it, basically. And with J.J. McCarthy, he got a chance to play quarterback, and that's why I think Sean Payton would really like to work with him.
Okay, let me ask you this now. I'm thinking day 2, maybe, possibility. Does Bo Nix fit with the Broncos and with Sean Payton?
I think his accuracy fits with Sean Payton, especially a quarterback that operates from the pocket. So that's why you keep seeing Bo Nix, being tied to the Broncos. And it makes sense because Sean Payton's gone out his way multiple times to say, I need a quarterback that can operate from the pocket efficiently. And he's the most accurate quarterback in the history of college football. So it makes a lot of sense. But the thing about it is his quarterback style. I have some reservations about him as a franchise quarterback. I think he can play, but I do think there's some design to what you need to put around him to make him work. And what I mean by that is that they use a lot of the passing game as an extension of the run game. There's a lot of short passes, right? A lot of screens, and they got the ball out of his hands really, really quick. And that's not a bad thing. But, oftentimes, the windows are smaller in the NFL. Sometimes you're going to have to, really, push the ball down the field. And that's something that, Bo Nix just really wasn't tasked with doing a ton. Plus, the other side of this is, how much of him is what he is at Auburn, what was at Auburn, what he is at Oregon, the improvements you saw. I don't know. I have more questions about Bo Nix than I do about many of the other quarterbacks. But the Broncos, they've been doing their due diligence. Hopefully they figure it out and they decide whether he can be the guy or not.
We're talking with Ryan Edwards, 850 KOA in Denver, part of KOA Sports. The total in Vegas for the quarterbacks taken in the first round, I think, is 4.5. Would you go under or over that number?
I'd go over. I think we're going to get to 5. I think we're going to get to 5 quarterbacks. It feels right. 4 for sure, right? I mean, you just know there's 4, and then 5. It takes one team. It takes one team, and I know right now we're having kind of bubble conversations about Michael Penix Jr. and Bo Nix. I don't think there's anybody else probably in that conversation to go in the first round, but it just takes one team. There's all these rumors about the Raiders and their interest in Michael Penix. I think 5 feels right. It's so funny though. Over the last few months, we talk about this stuff, to death. And there was a time I probably thought 6 quarterbacks would go in the first round. And, then a couple months later, you're like, maybe he's only 4. Maybe it is only 4. But today, the day before the draft, I feel like some team that doesn't get into that top 10 or maybe even top 5 to get one of those quarterbacks is going to want a quarterback. Heck, even the Broncos, they trade back. It wouldn't shock me if they get into the 20s and they say, you know what, we're just going to take him now because we know we need to improve our quarterback room, and we'll take Bo Nix. And some people are going to say, well, it's really early. And the Broncos are going to say, yeah, but if we wait until pick 50 or whatever, when they have that second rounder, then, they don't have a second rounder now. And this is, assuming they get a second rounder in a trade, that then all of a sudden, it makes some sense to everybody. So it's a fascinating thing, but I'm going to say 5.
All right, Ryan, what makes the most sense for the Broncos? Trading up or trading down?
Well, listen, I've been pounding the table for trading up the entire way, and I don't want to sound like a waffler now. So I'd still say I'd like to see them trade up. I'd still say that for a team that is missed the postseason every year since 2016, they need some buzz. They need some excitement, and a quarterback would bring that. And then, Zach Wilson, former number 2 overall pick, is probably not that guy. So I'd say that is what I'd like to see them do. However, what's most prudent, what's most realistic is probably to trade back. You need more talent on this roster. You need young talent on this roster. And the way to do this the right way is probably to trade back, eat your vegetables, do the right thing, yada yada. But man, it's not as exciting. It's just not as exciting.
Hey Ryan, how awesome was that finish with the Lakers and Nuggets a couple of nights ago?
Oh man, I did not sleep. I could not sleep. I could barely breathe. It was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen, and we've been treated to so many great moments with the Nuggets recently, right? I mean, not just the championship, but the MVPs for Jokic and Jamal Murray and his supernova status in the postseason. The bubble play that he had, and certainly what he did last year. But that shot was just one of those things where you just like the whole city was ready to erupt. And we've been going over like moments in sports for us here in Denver, like where you stood up and you couldn't help it. You just shouted. And that was one of those. And he's such an easy guy to root for too, Jamal Murray. And so it was really, really fun, really tremendous. And it's even better because it's against the Lakers.
Yeah, I was wondering when you mentioned that list, like what were a couple of the moments where people stood up and yelled? Maybe the Elway helicopter, obviously that shot by Murray, maybe the Tebow touchdown to Demaryius. Like what was on the list for you guys?
Yeah, those were some of the top ones. Yeah, Tebow to DT, the drive. I'd say for the Rockies, game 163, where they had to play in, and it went to extra innings, and Matt Holliday, coming around. I mean, that I still think there's questions about whether he touched home, but that's a different conversation for another day. But I was standing up, screaming on that one. But yeah, I mean, it's just cool. I mean, that's why we do what we do, right? Sports is the best, and it unites us, and just what a cool moment. Again, totally demoralizing for the Lakers, but I know you guys probably feel the same way. Hey, man, nobody's shedding tears for the Lakers. I'm sorry.
Yeah, got that right.
Yeah.
Ryan,
LeBron afterwards saying, talking about the refs. I mean, come on. Come on.
Grow up. Hey, Ryan, just quickly on that series, are you forecasting a sweep?
Whew, man, we got 10 straight, right? 10 straight. You say that, it sounds disrespectful. Yes, I'm saying sweep. That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying they're going to L.A., they're going to take 2 more, and there's nothing L.A. can do about it. Yeah,
bold.
I'm going to be bold.
Bold. You're bold.
I like it. Hey, where are you guys going to be tomorrow? Are you going to be in the studio? Or are you going to be out and about for draft night? What's the broadcast plan?
We're at Broncos headquarters, actually, which is cool. They give us a nice little setup down there at the practice facility, and we get to have the players on after, which is really cool. So as soon as they draft them, they pop them on with us. So like they'll do like a phoner, and then the next day, whenever they fly in, they come sit down with us. And hey man, as Mel Brooks says, it's good to be the king. And I definitely don't love that. So yeah, I definitely love that. So we get a chance to do that, and it's going to be a blast. I'm just so excited. It's been months and months of build, so much speculation. The Broncos haven't had a first rounder in the last couple of years, so there's just so much anticipation. I can't wait.
All right, Ryan, we appreciate the time, buddy. Have fun tomorrow night. He's on X at R. Edwards Radio, 850 KOA in Denver, part of KOA Sports. Appreciate it, man. That was awesome, dude. Have fun and enjoy the sweep Nuggets over the Lakers. And trust me, Trailblazer fans in town pulling for your Nuggets because we can all agree on one thing. The Lakers can suck it.
They can suck it. That's right. All right. Thanks, brother. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, man. There you go, Ryan Edwards. Love him. Yeah, fans are united.
Yeah.
The Lakers have been hated in this town for a long time.
I think they're hated in a lot of places, Chad. I don't think it's just here.
And they do get the benefit of the doubt from the officials. All the time. They have ever since I was little.
Always have. Yep.
There you go. So the Broncos, they're going to trade back because that's the smart thing to do. They don't have the draft capital. They can trade back and still be in a position. Because if they trade back, what was that? Okay, so
50.
For example, Yeah, so if they trade back, here's the deal. The Philadelphia-Denver deal that Albright was talking about, Denver gives up pick 12 for 22, 50, and 172. So they could move back to 22, and they collect 2 more picks in the process, including a second rounder. Then when they're at 22, they can take a look at the landscape and see if they think Knicks is going to go,
Right.
or they could wait till the second round to take him there. But the problem is, like we mentioned, and you know this, like when it comes to divisional rivals, why would Jim Harbaugh allow a deal with the Broncos to have J.J. McCarthy, who he has said is the greatest quarterback of all time, go to his rival in Denver?
He's not going to do that. But, you know, one thing people are saying is that if either Penix or Knicks go, say, at 20 or 22, the other one might get picked after that because people are going to see it as a sign that quarterbacks are going. Yeah, if you want a guy, you better get him now. And that's happened at other positions over the years, you know?
Yeah, and that's what Brink was talking about with the, it's the year 2024, the quarterback inflation, right?
Yeah.
Knicks and Penix are not day one quarterbacks on anyone's board, but because of it's what do they call that? It's the positional value, right?
Yeah.
Like Caleb Williams may not be the best prospect in the draft, but he's going to go number 1 because he plays the most important position.
Exactly. Yeah.
How much do you put into that? With the completion percentage, do you?
Well, it's skewed because of the balls he throws, but I don't think he's a bad deep passer either.
Yeah.
I think he's accomplished at that.
All right, there's Ryan Edwards. We appreciate him. We'll come back and we'll put a nice little bow on this program. Reggie Bush, big news today from Reggie Bush.
He got his trophy back.
Good for him.
I
mean,
guess.
If you're a rule breaker, but then they decide later on that those rules are no longer in place, I guess all sins are forgiven.
They used to call that ex post facto, and there's no ex post facto. In other words, if you're convicted of something and then they change the rules, you're still convicted.
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous that he got it back, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it kind of is.
And it seems a little weird to me. We'll get into that. You got the Rip City Driver, Dwight and Chad.
Up high, down low, too slow. It's time for Dwight and Chad to hand out their high fives.
All right, it's a special high five edition of the Rip City Drive here, and only one high five is going to be given tonight because it's for a special recipient. Godfather, the stage is yours. Who's going to get the high five?
Well, thank you, Chad. It's going to go to my granddaughter, Olive Janes. She is the sophomore goaltender for Greenwood High, the Gators, the Greenwood Gators. She's a sophomore goaltender in her first year being a goalie, by the way.
Go, Gators, go!
Yeah, their lacrosse team is in just its second season. But believe it or not, Olive, who has put so much work into this, I'm so proud of her. She's going to be representing Western Kentucky in an all-star game against Eastern Kentucky. She lives in Kentucky, obviously, and I'm really proud of her to be an all-star in her first year as a goalie. And way to go, Olive. All that hard work paid off, kid.
And in celebration, we have a song that we'd like to dedicate, a little long-distance dedication to Olive.
Right, her favorite band.
That's right. White Stripes, Shacker, hit it. Heisman back.
I don't know if that high five's for the trophy or for Reggie.
I guess you should maybe thank Johnny Manziel, who I guess said he was going to refuse to take part in any of their Heisman gatherings in the future if they didn't return to Bush. Whatever. I don't care whether they give it back to Bush or not. I don't even care if Bush has the trophy. I watched that year of college football. He was the best player on the field, no question about it. We all know he won the Heisman.
Deserved it.
But here's the part that's weird to me. So we now have NIL in place, right?
Yeah.
And now players can be paid for their name, image, and likeness. The rules have changed. But back then, when Bush was playing, there were benefits given out to his family that were not legal.
Yeah, like a house to live in.
Yeah, so they broke rules.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand how now that it's free and clear with NIL that somehow makes what was done then when the rules that were in place were broken makes it okay. I don't understand that.
Yeah, I have a hard time with it too, Chad. I don't go for that kind of thing, really. I mean, you broke the rules. You know you did. I don't think there was any excuse or alibi for it at the time. And people think, well, now it's okay. Yeah, but it wasn't then. That's an advantage his school had in getting him there, and it's an advantage he had because he didn't have to worry so much about extraneous things while he's going to college.
Because now I'm thinking like a lot of situations in my life where I should get like reparations for the way I was mishandled. For instance, they, for a short period of time, put in this dumb-ass HOV lane on I-5 South leaving Vancouver, so running right up to the I-5 bridge.
Mm-hmm.
It was the dumbest idea of all time. We all knew it was dumb, and it made traffic awful. Well, one day I needed to get to work on time, and so I decided, screw it, I'm going to use the HOV lane to get up to the bridge, and I got hit with a ticket. Not too long after I got that ticket, they removed the HOV lane because it was a dumb decision. I mean, shouldn't I be repaid for the ticket because that HOV lane's no longer there?
You should have gotten your money back. Or you should have tried the
agree.
Larry David solution to that rule on his way to the
Yeah,
Dodger
with like
game.
yeah.
Well, there was a woman standing on a street corner. Maybe she needed a
Oh,
ride.
that was the hooker, right?
Yes. Yeah. But she
Can you
went,
say hooker?
She went along to the Dodger game with him.
Yeah, hooker's one of those words that it feels uncomfortable to say.
Yeah.
It's not a nice word.
I didn't think you were going to say it, but you did.
Hooker. What's a better way to say that? Lady of the night?
Yeah.
Kept woman? Like, I don't know what you say
No,
there.
kept woman's different.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. What is that, like a mistress?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what you say. What was it? Prostitutes? That doesn't sound very nice.
No, that's nasty, too.
Escort.
There was
You hire
quite
an
an
escort.
inventive idea by Larry, though, to do that. And it would have been fine if he hadn't gotten on the TV screen sitting next to her. I think that was the problem.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I mean, what's your take on that? I mean, do you think it's...
No, I don't like it, Chad.
Yeah.
I just think you can't go back like that. If you start doing that, I mean, that's a precedent. Like even with the NCAA, schools have been disqualified. They've had trophies taken away. All those things. Are you going to give them all back now? What are you going to do? Because they bought some kid a hamburger?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like, I got busted for having possession of pot at Prairie High School, and I was vilified for being like a druggie and all this stuff, right?
Well,
it was
you
like,
should have been, but
yeah.
that's...
I'm not saying that what I did was right, but it's really weird that how a few short years later now it's like it's legal, you know. But I was at that time that was during the